is a lie. It hides the truth. Beyond the neon lights lurk dark shadows that feed on those that stray too close. In the heart of Tokyo walk creatures never mentioned in the guidebooks. Creatures that need the blood of the living. From Shinjuku to Shibuya, the undead are the hidden power that control this city. Learn the hidden truth in this narrative podcast by independent author Brent Thomas. Learn the hidden truth of bloody Tokyo. Chapter 2. The Salaryman. The salaryman stepped out of the convenience store into the night air. Clutched in his left hand was a can of coffee and a pack of cigarettes. He stopped just outside the door of the store and looked around. Until recently, there had been an ashtray located just at the front of this store. Every day, before work and after, he had stopped at this store for coffee and a smoke. Right here. He glanced to his side as a woman carrying a small child was squeezing behind him to get into the store. He took the barest step forward. Not enough to be of use, but enough to get a litany of thanks and apologies for making him move. He grunted. Bitches like that were probably the ones who got his ashtray moved. He spat and allowed himself a smile, seeing the glob of spittle splat there in front of the door. He walked slowly to the side of the building. He unwrapped the pack of cigarettes and let the wrapper flutter down to the ground. He sighed as he looked around the alley he was now in. The front of the building faced a minor but active street. A steady stream of people glided by the front of the store. He had liked watching them go by. There would be men dressed like himself in dark suits. The salaryman would smile at how many of their suits were inferior. He noticed watches. Few matched the quality of his own. He used to be able to sit there and measure up the competition and count himself among the winners. And, with a university nearby, he could also keep track of the girls. It was just on the verge of fall, and soon the short skirts would give way to more leggings and long pants. But, for now, there was still plenty of skin on display. How he'd love to puff away and just imagine the things those young college girls would be up to. But instead, here he was, in a side alley. Only rarely did anyone pass by. He lit a cigarette and inhaled. It wasn't the same. It felt too perfunctory. This was supposed to be his time to relax. He opened the can of coffee and took a sip. Behind the sweetness of the coffee, he could taste the metal of the can. Fuck. He finished the coffee quickly and set it on the ground. He wondered if he should get a beer, but decided against it. He was in a pissy mood and he didn't want alcohol to make it worse. He would go home. The train would take an hour. There would be dinner waiting on the table. He'd eat, take a shower, jack off, then watch some TV before heading to bed. That would be enough for tonight. Time to go. A few deep puffs, and the cigarette was down to a little stub. A flick of his fingers sent it sailing down the alley like a firecracker. He chuckled at the dance it did as it skittered along the gravel. Turning, he started to head back to the front of the store. "Hey!" a voice called out from down the alley. The salaryman turned. A rail-thin old man was glaring at him. He looked tiny and frail and angry. "What is it, Grandpa?" the salaryman asked, already sure he knew what was coming. "Thinking you just toss your trash wherever?" the old crank fussed. "What's the big deal? I saw you toss that wrapper and the cigarette." "Oh, that? Habit. Sorry, okay?" The salaryman tried not to laugh. The old geezer was wearing one of those old-style coats that almost looked to be made out of discarded bedding. He was stick-thin and had thinning white hair. All that was missing was a pair of thick glasses to turn him into a cartoon character. "Sorry my ass. You were just going to leave that can there too, weren't you?" The salaryman looked down at the coffee can. "That? I'd forgotten about it." It was the truth. "You kids just leave your garbage anywhere. No respect for the people who live here. This is a neighborhood, you know that? Not your garbage can." The old man practically barked the words out. The salaryman just sighed. Listen, I'll pick the can up, okay? Don't get yourself so worked up. You're gonna give yourself a heart attack. Heart attack? Boy, don't play this wrong. I'm not above kicking the shit out of you. The old man was getting more and more worked up, and the salaryman just rolled his eyes. He wasn't sure what he should do. Part of him wanted to just pick up the can and go, leave the old fusspot be. But another part of him was getting just as angry. After all, this was his spot too, and if the damn store hadn't taken away their ashtrays, then he wouldn't be here in the alley flicking cigarettes down the street, and he certainly wouldn't be dealing with this shitty old man. Instead of leaving, the salaryman slowly drew out another cigarette and brought it to his lips. The old man watched as the salaryman brought up the lighter. Its click seemed to echo in the alley as it brought out its little spout of flame. The salaryman breathed in a deep lungful of smoke before exhaling it at the old man. If you want to try and kick the shit out of me, you're welcome to try. The old man's eyes went hard. With a speed the salaryman didn't expect, the old man's hand darted out, snatching away the cigarette. Won't be any try. Once again the old man darted forward. The salaryman felt a burning pain in the center of his chest. It took him a moment to realize it was from the lit cigarette being put out. Ow, fuck! The salaryman pushed at the old guy, only to feel himself striking a concrete wall. Only the wall locked itself around his fist. The salaryman looked up. It wasn't the wall. His hand was caught in the grasp of the now smiling old man. The problem with you is a lack of manners and a lack of respect. The old man's grip tightened, and the salaryman felt the bones in his hand shatter. It hurt too much to scream. Now the question is, how do we teach you manners? The old man drew a dagger, one that looked like a Japanese sword, only in miniature. Maybe I should take a finger, the old man muttered absently. The salaryman felt a sudden rush of warmth as he wet himself. He started to cry. He watched as the anger in the old man's eyes turned to disgust. You stink, the old man said at last. Get out of here, quick, before I remember how rude you are. The salaryman fled, running blindly into the larger street. A honking horn blared. The old man listened, but heard no impact and shrugged. It would have been fitting if the cocky bastard had been splattered against the hood of a car. Oh well. He sheathed the weapon and returned it to its hiding spot. I think you've gone soft, Koike. It's possible. I found myself thinking that if I split him open, I'd either need to hose down the blood myself or phone in some favors with the police to get them to do it. Either way, a hassle. You could have just eaten him. Koike, the old man, snorted. You insult me, Shinichi. You should know I have better taste than that. Koike turned and looked at the younger man. Still in your all-black phase, I see. Shinichi merely shrugged. He'd been dressing this way for the past 30 years. He didn't see anything wrong with it or any reason to change. You come for the usual reason? Koike asked. Shinichi shrugged again, making Koike smile. Walk with me, Koike instructed. Shinichi followed him, and together they made their way to the main road. I hear you talked with Yamagata the other day. Yes. Shinichi didn't want to offer any more than that. He knew what was coming. That was stupid. You don't need to put yourself in debt to him. If you want a child, make one. That is your right, your decision. Not everyone agrees. And change comes slowly. If you only knew how many times I had heard that in my life. Koike led them through the turning streets. Anyone passing by would be forgiven for assuming it was a grandson out for a walk with his granddad. I should have taken that stinky bastard's wallet. I would have, too, if you'd made yourself known a little earlier. I'll pay, Shinichi offered. He wondered at when exactly Koike had noticed him in the alley. Was it before or after he decided to let the salaryman live? He was tempted to ask. and he would have if he thought Koike would answer truthfully. They arrived at their destination. From inside came a barrage of clangs, chimes, and whistles. Loud music thundered throughout as flashing lights assaulted the senses. The pair made their way to the back. The game they arrived at was slightly older, not quite a classic, but old enough. Before my eyes were so bad, this was nothing but a blur. I'd almost forgotten what the screen was supposed to look like. He said that every time they played together, and, just as always, a look passed over his face that announced there was more to say. Memories of the past and a deeper meaning to this particular game. Shinichi pulled out his coin purse and waited, just in case tonight would be the night Koike chose to tell his story. But, just as always, the moment and the look passed. "Well, you said you were paying. Go on ahead and pay." Shinichi loaded up the machine with enough coins for 2 players. They each picked up a plastic gun and waited for the story to lead them to the light show bad guys to shoot. Support Bloody Tokyo by donating to patreon.com/Brent Thomas, liking the Brent Thomas author page on Facebook, and by visiting deadlytroubadour.com.